Welcome back. Well, now we turn our attention to the national identity
management.
Yeah, it has to do with the national ID. It's much talked about, but yes, we'll talk about it today. We're joined, starting from my right, Hadiza Ali Dagabana, who is the General Manager, Inspectorate Regulatory and Compliance of the NIMC. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Then I got on my left, Barrister Chris Onyemenam, who is the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NIMC. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
They're used to seeing you in your suits, but today you're dressed now.
Try to look different.
Well, about NIMC, I know you know it's almost on the lips of everyone in terms of this national registration. Let's start with you telling us about the mandate of NIMC.
Put very bluntly, briefly, there are three. First, to set up the National Identity Management Commission as an ongoing concern, a new commission in the presidency that has a primary responsibility for managing the unique identification system for Nigeria. Secondly, to ensure that there is no duplication of efforts and activities by winding up the former Department for National Civic Registration that used to handle issues around the civil registration for the issuance of national identity card in the past. And thirdly, to help foster the orderly development of an identity sector by putting in place the National Identity Management System, which includes the unique identification scheme for Nigeria. So basically, those are the three-track mandates of
does
the
it,
Commission.
By extension, include ensuring that this is the main identification we have, such that there's no duplication from any other agency?
Precisely. The primary objective is to have a single version of truth of everyone's personal information in a central location that is then made available to the entire society, whether they are ministries, departments, and agencies of government, or the private sector. Who you are is just one and only reference information. Therefore, every other form of identification, whether you are in school, whether you are a worker, whether you are a driver, whether you are a taxpayer, those are eligibility or benefit status identities. They are functional identities that must take a cue from the foundation identity, which is the who you are identity, and that's our primary responsibility.
Okay, Ajay, it's very important that reliable data on Nigerians for planning in different areas it's also equally important. But you find that, as Chamberlain said, duplication of the collection of this data. You go to the bank, you do your BVN, you go to the immigration, you take it. Why are we having to do all of this if NIMC is really doing what it should do?
Yes, you have to put your mind back to when NIMC came on board. NIMC came on board in 2007, and prior to that, these agencies have been collecting such data. So now that we are in board, and our mandate is to have a centralized national database, what we are trying to do is to harmonize the databases of those different agencies so that the data they have should be something that is the same, unique in all the other databases. As they are now, they are just independent of each other. Because what you have in the driver's license database may be different from what is in the international passport database. It may be different in the tax database. But with that unique identifier that NIMC is issuing, that's the national identification number, it's to tie all those databases as one. So you won't have that opportunity to go and give different information in all those different databases. So that's what NIMC is doing, championing the harmonization drive for all those databases and championing certain standards identity database, the standards that should be used collectively for the different sectors.
You are with Inspectorate Regulatory and Compliance.
Yes.
So your job is to ensure that everybody gets in line with what happens.
Exactly.
I thought there was a directive last time by the former president.
Even this president gave a directive.
Is that being complied with?
Yes, it is. At least as we are talking right now, we have about 5 agencies that have come forward, and we are working on the harmonization drive with them. We have the road safety, we have the Nigerian police that have come to us. So we are INEC, we are at different stages of even the bank verification database. We've reached at advanced stage with harmonization.
At the end of the day, when they all come together, what do we expect as a result? How is it supposed to play out?
What we expect is, like the DG stated, a single version of truth.
So we just have what? One national identity card and...
No, you will have a...
Just one.
Put it this way, like she said, there's the need to ensure some consistency, some level of uniformity in the way you gather data. If you must gather data in addition to what the National Identity Management Commission is doing. And, I mean, put it this way, I'm Chris Onyemenam. If I go to the bank, I open an account as a bank account as Chris Onyemenam, unless I want to play some games. If I go to obtain my international passport, I obtain an international passport as Chris Onyemenam. So there are certain demographic information that is constant and common to all of these databases. Okay. And then there are also biometric information, biometric data that is common to all of these databases. So why duplicate the efforts?
So as it is now,
yes,
since NIMC is going about gathering data and doing this biometrics, does any other agency need to do the same?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, because there is a transitional period during which we then have a checklist and we tick off. Since I can get this from here, by this time I get off this process and depend on NIMC. Since I can get this because it is what I need for my function, for the functions I perform as a driver's license issuing authority, as an electronic passport issuing authority. There are certain data that are unique, necessary for those functional responsibilities to be properly performed. Now, I would then narrow or limit myself to those aspects. The rest that are common, name, age, and the rest of them, you can always get from me. The biometrics you can always get from me, except when there are international obligations that you must have in your infrastructure exposed in that manner, like the international passport. Then you would have to agree with the commission how to take that. So essentially we are doing it at 3 levels. First, those things that amount to obvious duplications over a period of transition, they will be eliminated. And that's where the harmonization is taking us to. Second, those things that when you have eliminated them and you still need to do them or have them, then you can download them from the commission. And then third, where you need to confirm the identity of the individual before you render service, by the access that is given to you to the central identity database, you can do that confirmation. That is the verification service.
Okay, now let's talk about the process.
Okay.
I was trying to register the other day, and when I went online and put in, trying to register first before, having some kind of...
the pre-enrollment.
Yes, and I kept putting the information and it kept taking me back somehow. Talk us through some of the, process, if you will.
Okay. The process is either like you rightly stated, you go online since you are computer literate to do the pre-enrollment, or you walk into any of our centers to be assisted in doing the enrollment. What you do on the internet is the demographic enrollment. that you do and print the 2D barcode, and you walk to our offices where they take your biometrics, the 10 fingerprint, the facial picture, head to shoulder, and eventually we'll introduce the iris. But by taking the picture, we already have the iris, but the capacity to use it as verification that we'll introduce later on. Your signature, your primary source document, which is, because as we are just starting, and then the country does not have kind of one source document that you will call this is your background document. So you need to get either your driver's license, your international passport, or your birth certificate, as it may be, or your certificate of indigence. It's just for us to know where you're coming from, to determine whether you are a Nigerian or a legal resident. For legal residents, the documents they obtain from immigration services will be used as their source documents. Then we enrolled you